Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Tuesday, January 16th. With the details tonight, I'm Callum Cato. There are no confirmed cases of leprosy here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This assurance comes from Chief Health Promotions Officer in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Shanika John, in light of the presence of the disease in neighboring islands, including St. Lucia and Barbados. Hansen's disease, also known as leprosy, is an infection caused by a slow-growing bacteria. The leprosy bacteria can be spread when a person with the disease coughs or sneezes and someone else breathes in the droplets containing the bacteria repeatedly over a prolonged period of time. Leprosy can affect the nerves, skin, eyes, and lining of the nose.
For St. Vincent and the Grenadines, since 2002, we have not had a case of leprosy reported in St. Vincent to now. So there are no confirmed cases in St. Vincent. So let me repeat that again. There is no confirmed case of leprosy currently in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as of January 15, 2024. Our team, which includes our surveillance committee, it also includes our infectious control department and our technical lead, which is the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Simone Kaiser-Beach. We're monitoring the situation closely and also dialoguing with our regional colleagues from some of the other countries to just ensure that we have things in place, one, and just ensure that we are also able to detect early and to do some sort of treatment.
John said that the Ministry of Health will keep a watchful eye on the situation and adjust resources accordingly.
In the years gone by, leprosy has been something that is very highly infectious. However, over the years, it has also been proven with early detection and treatment that person can very well live a very normal and quote-unquote healthy life, especially if it's caught early and persons can report. The ministry will continue to update the public accordingly and will let you know if there's anything that has changed.
Meanwhile, with a rise in influenza cases in SVG, the Chief Health Promotions Officer is urging Vincentians to keep protecting themselves and their loved ones while continuing to adhere to the usual precautionary measures against respiratory infections, such as covering mouths and nostrils while coughing and washing hands frequently.
I want to make another plug for persons who are experiencing flu-like symptoms. We've definitely seen a case uptake in terms of the number of cases for influenza in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we're also seeing an increase in cases for COVID-19. Well, not an increase, but we're seeing cases of COVID-19 being reported. So we really want people to continue to practice all the precautionary measures, which includes washing your hands properly, using a 70% based hand sanitizer. I know this is the second week of our students back out to school. If you're not well, if your children are not well, we ask you to let them stay at home and let us do it the proper way. Take them to your nearest health center, let them be assessed by a physician, get the required sick leave that you would need to support your child or yourself, and so that you could get the best care that you need.
SVG's Minister of Agriculture, Soboto Caesar, today joined other ministers of agriculture within the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, for a meeting in Santiago, Chile, to validate the upcoming CELAC Food and Nutrition Security and Hunger Eradication 2030 plan. The CELAC hybrid online and in-person meeting was held under the theme Agriculture Unites People, Food and Nutritional Security for Our America. Addressing the meeting's opening ceremony, Minister Caesar reflected on the journey of the CELAC Food and Nutritional Security and Hunger Eradication Plan.
12 months ago, when the journey was started, we had a plan that was crafted after careful consideration and thought. What we decided to do, however, with all of the change in scenes taking place globally, particularly the vagaries of climate change that we continue to grapple with, and the disruptions in the global supply chain because of the COVID-19 pandemic, that we wanted to rework the plan. And I wish to commend all member states of CELAC, because this document is our document. And I wish to specifically mention the work that has been done by the FAO and also by AICA. Manuel Otero, the Director General of AICA, supported the process every step of the way. ECLAC, ALADI, CARICOM, OECS, and civil society in Latin America and the Caribbean. It's a moment that we are celebrating, and I spoke about the fact that we also have to reflect on the hard work, but importantly is the way forward. And I'm really happy that there has been a consensus for the alignment, for the achievement of many of the pillars in this plan with the Sustainable Development Goals and the date of 2030.
Minister Caesar told the gathering that St. Vincent and the Grenadines will continue to work with all member states to ensure that the plan is successful.
We have benefited from the collective efforts of all member states, and I want for the government and people of Honduras to be aware that we are going to join forces with you from day one to ensure that when we come to the end of 2024, going into 2025, that we will be able not just to celebrate a plan on paper, but we will be able to speak about how this plan touched lives in Latin America and the Caribbean to ensure that there is food and nutrition security.
Caesar further outlined the role of the Parliamentary Front movement in the implementation of the CELAC Food and Nutrition Security and Hunger Eradication 2030 plan.
I also want to recognize the role that we anticipate that the Parliamentary Front movement is going to play in the implementation of the plan. The plan will be definitely opening significant doors for the people of Latin America and the Caribbean. Our watchword is food security. Food must always be available, accessible, and affordable. Thank you.
Today's meeting is expected to facilitate the presentation of the final updated plan to explore ways in which member states can collaborate to attain greater food security and sustainability. COVID-19 and the Russia-Ukraine war, which impacted the demand and supply of goods and services, created spiraling food prices, which severely affected Latin America and the Caribbean. A news release from the Ministry of Agriculture says this highlights the importance for member states to forge alliances that promote deepened cooperation and regional integration through multilateral, multi-level, and multi-stakeholder processes, in addition to addressing poverty, inequality, and sustainability. 87 teachers on mainland St. Vincent are participating in 2 earthquake and tsunami training workshops, which commenced today at the UWI Global Campus site. The training workshops, which are being conducted by the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, in collaboration with the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center and the Ministry of Education, forms part of the NEMO Geological Hazard Public Education and Awareness Program, which will run from January to April, with a focus on earthquakes from January to February. The main objective of the Earthquake and Tsunami Workshop is to provide training for teachers in the area of tsunami and earthquake science, preparedness, and the necessary resources needed for them to present this information to their students. This includes PowerPoint presentations for different age groups of students at primary and secondary school levels, along with in-class and homework activities and other audio-visual resources. Professor of Geology at the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, Richard Robertson, will present the scientific information at the workshop. Addressing the opening ceremony of the training workshop, Director of NEMO, Michelle Forbes, said with the increase in earthquakes locally and regionally, they felt the need to push their educational awareness on what to do in the event of such a hazard, and also to focus on the older school buildings in capital Kingstown and those along the coastal areas. Hence, they reached out to the Ministry of Education so that they can get the information out to the schools, thereby engaging teachers in a training workshop.
Our geography teachers, some of you do it in your social studies and other classes within school, but we thought it best partnering with the Ministry of Education and using the materials that we have had from the Seismic Research Center, who is one of our long-standing partners, on how do we put across this material to the teachers and ensure that you too are informed and aware of how do you communicate the information to your children on what to do if there's an earthquake in the school, during their school time. And this will also twofold in terms of the Ministry of Education school safety program, where really each school should have a school evacuation plan and do your evacuation plan in the event of an earthquake or tsunami or fire or anything that may happen in the school that you need to assembly and go to a point of safety. So we want to thank the Ministry of Education in particular in partnering it up with us. When we approached Ferdinand, we didn't have any hesitancy, and we were able to capitalize on these 2 days because they had 2 other activities scheduled for these days and partner as to who is going to pay for what and really ensure that we have this event today. Now, we are not leaving the teachers in the schools in the Grenadines out because we recognize that they are closer to the Kikemjeni volcano, submarine volcano of Grenada. And we will also be taking this program down to the Grenadine Island and each island in the Grenadines so that they too can have the same information that you're having, and we continue our earthquake and tsunami awareness on those islands.
Forbes said with a focus on earthquakes for the next 2 months, they will be shifting gears in March to tsunami hazards and will be engaging the schools in the Arnesville area for the regional Caribe Wave Tsunami exercise on March 21st.
Community, especially that lower part of the community, we know that it's becoming a built-up area, and we really want to do an evacuation of that area up into the higher ground, because we are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and we're not short of any lowland when it comes to a tsunami. So for those schools in that area and for the businesses in that area also in March, we want to do an earthquake drill, a tsunami drill on March the 21st. So we'll invite anyone to touch base with us and who want to participate in that drill. And of course in April, which is traditionally our Volcano Awareness Month, we have been doing volcano awareness for almost the existence since NEMA came into existence in 2002. We have been partnering with the Seismic Research Center in doing volcano awareness in April. And this year will not be an exception. It will be actually 3 years since the last eruption of the explosive eruption of the last Soufrière volcano. So we have quite a packed few months, and we want you to partner with us and ensure that you have the information that you can actually give to the students. It's a large population we have, and that you'll be able to take action in the event of an earthquake and tsunami, and also with the help in having you develop your various evacuation and disaster plans within your schools. So we really want to thank you for being here this morning, and thank Professor Robertson. When actually the Seismic Research Center, he's here doing different things, and when he heard that we were having this activity and he had to visit to work on our SOPs for the Belmont Observatory, he agreed to be part of this session. So I think you have an added bonus. You can actually hear from the scientist yourself, and he'll be doing the first session and really be able to ask any questions about geology and seismology in the region.
Professor Richard Robertson told the teachers that they all have a critical role in imparting knowledge on people.
In that regard, I'll speak from my own personal experience. To a large extent, I'm here in front of you because of a fantastic geography teacher I had when I was in grammar school that really made me very interested in geography. And in fact, I became a geologist partly because I was interested in geography and all of that. So teachers are extremely important. So I'm glad that you're here. I'll suggest that you make as full use of the information as you can, because you're important not only in part knowledge, but in the context of what we're speaking about, you're also important because it affects you directly. If you live in St. Vincent, you can't but not be aware of the geological hazards. So the second point I want to make is the importance of earthquakes, the importance of knowledge about them, both for yourselves living in communities that are exposed to geologic hazards, particularly earthquakes and tsunamis we focus on, but we know about volcanoes too. So it's important that you realize that even though these things don't happen very often, if and when they happen, because of where we live, because of the structures we build, we're very vulnerable to the impact, and we're very exposed to the negative effects of them. And therefore, you're knowing what to do as an individual, but also you're knowing what to say and how to operate. It's very important to make sure that the students that you're responsible for are responding in a certain way. And then my third point is the importance of organizations like NEMO, like Seismic. It's important that we have organizations that are able to have these kinds of sessions and to do research on geologic hazards and things like that, so that you could then have people who are experts in the field, who are knowledgeable in the field, that can then be in a position to assist people who are vulnerable to these hazards, to make sure that they respond in a way that would minimize the impact of these hazards.
The Senior Education Officer responsible for research and school safety, Dr. Idelia Ferdinand, said the Tsunami Earthquake Preparedness Training Workshop for teachers is in sync with the comprehensive school safety framework built on the 3 pillars of school facilities: development of plans and procedures, knowledge and awareness, which contribute to the culture of safety they are trying to engender in SVG.
When we understand the risk we face and the roles we all have to play to reduce those risks and avert disasters, then we contribute to building a culture of safety. We are therefore happy to partner with NEMO and the UWI Seismic Research Center on this initiative, as we have done on many others in the past, and we do look forward to many other workshops or other activities in the future where we can all help to build resilience in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we know that if we as educators are not a part of this critical process, then who else will? Hazards such as earthquakes and tsunami can strike at any time, unannounced, and schools are where many of us spend our time during the day, students and educators, and therefore it is important that there are plans and procedures in place to guide what should be done before, during, and after the impact of these hazards. Knowledge is the difference between calm and chaos. It can also make a difference between life and death. I therefore encourage you to not only take in the information that is being presented today on the science of tsunami and earthquakes and preparedness measures, but I also urge you to ask many questions and to seek clarification on any gray areas you may have relating to these hazards. Also be prepared to share this knowledge not only with your students and colleagues at school, but look for other opportunities in your community, your church, or the organizations that you're a part of to impart this knowledge. It is only then that we will contribute to the culture of safety that we are building.
Effective tax season 2024, the Inland Revenue Department, or the IRD, will be implementing a new tax refund policy whereby personal income tax refunds will only be issued to taxpayers via direct deposit to their financial institution accounts, as opposed to the current method of issuing refunds by physical checks. A news release from the IRD said prior to the direct deposits being made, taxpayers would receive notice of the refund via personal email address only, provided to the department by the taxpayer or representative. According to the IRD, over the years, as access to technology increased and postal services became less utilized, tax refund notices were not being collected by taxpayers, which ultimately led to a high level of uncollected tax refund notices and unclaimed tax refunds. The Inland Revenue Department has estimated that approximately 40% of refund notices go uncollected on a yearly basis, with a similar percentage of refunds being unclaimed. The IRD said the new income tax refund policy aligns with the mandate of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines under the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, CARD-TP, to improve digital public service delivery and modernize government operations. Under the CARD-TP, the government of SVG has flagged the development of citizen-facing digital government services as a key priority to improve the user experience for citizens accessing public services and to improve the efficiency of the internal government operations. To this end, the IRD in October 2022 launched its debit credit card payment option for the payment of taxes and licenses. Also under the CARD-TP, the IRD will be producing a new tax information management system. Later this year, the IRD said it will also be launching an e-filing portal which would encourage more efficient and timely filing of returns and would eliminate the need for paper submissions, and also intends imminently to commence the issuance of automated electronic receipts to taxpayers. To facilitate the new tax refund process, when filing your personal income tax returns, you are asked to provide accurate, up-to-date financial institution information and a valid email address. The IRD said the information is being requested strictly for the purpose of populating its database in order to process tax refunds through direct deposit and to issue electronic notifications. The IRD said that it is confident that this new initiative will be highly beneficial to the taxpaying public and as such anticipates the public's cooperation and support. Acting Commissioner of Police Enfield Williams has ordered a full investigation into an incident in Choppins involving what has been described as an unruly mob and some members of the Rapid Response Unit, or RRU, of the RSVG police force. In a statement issued by the police on the incident, it says that on Saturday at about 8:30 p.m., acting on information received, a party of officers from the RRU went to Choppins in search of a suspect who was reportedly in possession of an illegal firearm. Upon entering the village, they saw a male fitting the description of the suspected person. The police statement says the officers approached the suspect and identified themselves to him as police officers, and that the officer in charge of the patrol informed the suspect about the information that was received and requested a search of his person. A crowd immediately gathered around the police and the suspect and started to behave in a hostile manner. A police officer then held on to the suspect and attempted to search him. The suspect pulled away and slapped the officer in the face. The officer again held on to the suspect in an attempt to conduct the search. However, the angry crowd violently pulled the suspect away from the officers, and that while this was happening, someone from the crowd grabbed the purse that the suspect was carrying, which the officer suspected to have contained the illegal firearm, as reported, and ran. During the upheaval, a police officer was thrown to the ground by the crowd and was injured in the process. In an effort to disperse the crowd and de-escalate the situation, police discharged 2 rounds in the air. The RSVG police force is reminding the general public of the obligations and powers conferred upon police officers in the execution of their duties and in accordance with the Firearms Act, Chapter 386 of the Revised Laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines 1995, and the Criminal Procedure Code, CPC, Section 172 of the Revised Edition of the Laws of SVG 2009 relating to the arrest and searching of suspects, among other things. Section 31 of the Firearms Act states, quote, when a police officer reasonably suspects that anyone is carrying a firearm or ammunition concealed about his person, he may ask that person if he is carrying a firearm. 1. If that person is carrying a firearm or ammunition, require that person to produce the firearm or ammunition, and unless he is exempted under Section 15, his license or permit. 2. If any person, if any person fails to comply as requested under subsection 1, he commits an offense, and the police officer may seize and retain the firearm or ammunition until such times as legal proceedings against that person are concluded. 3. If any person denies that he is carrying a firearm or ammunition on his person, the police officer may search that person and seize and retain any firearm found until such time as legal proceedings are concluded against the person, and shall require that person to declare his name and address. Section 27 of the CPC authorizes any police officer to stop, search, and detain any vessel, vehicle, or person who may be reasonably suspected of having in his possession or conveying in any manner anything stolen or unlawfully obtained, or in respect of which an offense is being or has been committed. The statement from the police says the officers received credible information that the suspect was carrying an illegal firearm. Therefore, their suspicion and attempt to arrest and search the suspect were reasonable and justifiable by law. Section 22(1) of the CPC states, in making an arrest, the police officer or other person making the arrest shall touch or confine the body of the person to be arrested unless there is a submission to the custody by word or action. The RSVG police force says the officer rightly held on to the suspect's hand to effect the arrest, but he pulled away. Section 22(2) of the CPC states if a person who is under arrest forcibly resists the endeavor to arrest him or endeavors to evade the arrest, such police officer or other person may use all means necessary to effect the arrest. The RSVG police force says had it not been for the restraint exercised by the police officers, the situation could have turned out to be very tragic for the suspect, the unruly mob, and themselves, and reiterates that it is an offense to obstruct a police officer while he or she is executing their duty. The RSVG police force is calling on all citizens and residents of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to respect and abide by the laws of the state, noting that there are too many instances where members of the public are engaged in fighting the police. The RSVG police force is encouraging the public to work with the police in creating safer communities and combating crime and violence in the land. Yesterday, a number of schools across St. Vincent and the Grenadines received school supplies and sanitary products through the Dame Susan Duggan Foundation. During the handing over ceremony at Government House, the Governor General, Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan, explained how the foundation got started, adding that it aims to give students a second chance and to create an environment where gaps can be filled.
Now, I threw out the idea of having a foundation for girls. In the UK, when I visited for the coronation to Vincentians in the UK, it was an excellent idea. They were ready to come on board before the project was fully conceptualized. They had a lot of ideas, and those ideas they submitted to me. I have a few friends in the schools who also indicated to me that they need some help, and persons have been coming, and I thought, why not make it a national undertaking? We are working closely with the Ministry of Education because we are not trying to do their work. We are partners, and where there is a shortcoming in any way, we will try to see how best we can assist. And thus far, the support has been very, very good.
Principal of the Thomas Saunders Secondary School, Nicole McLean, thanked the foundation for the items received on behalf of the school.
Grateful that with the initiative of the foundation, we know that it will help our students. Sometimes it's the problems outside of the classroom that affects what the students can truly achieve. And again, we are so pleased with the initiative and the help.
To date, the Dame Susan Duggan Foundation visited 10 schools and intends to visit all the schools in the country. The foundation was launched on September 7th, 2023. The Bishop's College, Kingstown, is set to celebrate its 60th anniversary as a secondary institution with a march and rally along with a Thanksgiving church service on Thursday. In 1964, the Bishop's College, Kingstown began offering education to students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On NBC Radio's Talk Your Talk program today via telephone, Dean Otis Nichols said that in the early 1960s, education was part of the thinking of the hierarchy of the Anglican Church, and from offering primary education, they saw the need to move into secondary education.
Most of the island, which makes up the Diocese of the Windward Islands, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Grenada, were lacking, so to speak, of enough places to deal with the expanding population and those who are eligible for secondary education. And so, after much discussion, Bishop Pigott, the bishop at the time, Bishop Harold Grant Pigott, worked with what resources were available and started Bishop's College in Carriacou, Bishop's College Georgetown, and Bishop's College Kingstown. Carriacou was started a little earlier on the 3rd of January 1964, and Bishop's College Georgetown and Kingstown was started around the same time, the 20th of January 1964, to fill a niche that was perceived to be needed at the time.
Former student and anniversary planning committee co-chair Rodney Small spoke of a number of activities to be held over the next few months to commemorate the 6 decades of secondary education offered by the Bishop's College, Kingstown.
There's doing mentorship programs with the present students now. There's things that we want to put in terms of information. There's conversation about a magazine. There's conversation about doing vlogs and videos about past students, past principal. And I mean, just different persons who have contributed. Now, the history of Bishop College is extremely rich.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Johnny Pico said, but it is extremely rich. And for somebody like me and other persons, right, within the different skills, we have a lot of success story there.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bishop College was known for netball. Bishop College was known for steel pan. Bishop College was known for agriculture. I mean, in a holistic way, academics, yes, it's always there. But in terms of there's something that gives some sense of identity. And for me, I mean, going to Bishop College, I never wanted to go to grammar school or St. Martin's or the school. I knew I wanted to go to Bishop College simply because my sister went there.
Okay.
And when I saw what happened and what she was doing at Bishop College, I felt the need to go there. I mean, quite naturally, I was already playing pan. And here in Bishop College, with I mean, one of the best steel orchestras, I wanted to be a part of that. So we have that element also coming where, you know, we want to do a concert, some performances with the current steel pan players now, and even to get some of the past students to be involved in that.
Meanwhile, Dean Nichols said their main goal is for their students to achieve excellence not only in academics, but also in extracurricular activities.
Not just in academics, but in sports, in cultural activities, and the like. And so that continues to be part of the thrust of the current administration led by Mrs. Insa Prince Duncan and her team at the school as they seek to make sure that Bishop's College continues to be a school of choice for our nation's children. Yes, well, we, as a school, would like to give God thanks for all of those persons who contributed to the school and continue to do so. We have a lovely partnership with the government at the moment. We pray and trust that that continues. And we have always been a family-oriented school, and so we know that there are generations of students from the same family who have attended Bishop's College, Kingstown, and we tend to encourage that. And so as we go forward with the celebration, we pray and trust that all will be done to the honor and glory of God and for the advancement of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Anniversary Planning Committee is encouraging all alumni in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the diaspora to make contact with the leaders and the institution to express their thoughts and ideas, as well as to be part of the planning process and activities to be held.